When you saw that NBA Finals game last night, holy cow, what a disaster that was for the league. Listen, I love the NBA as much as anybody, but let's be realistic. That was a nightmare scenario for the NBA last night. The Denver Nuggets don't even play their best game, and they dominate and win by 11. Now, the spread was 9.5. I told you guys yesterday on the show, had to hammer the Nuggets. A lot of game one evidence points to that after a 7-game series, and Denver dominated. The second half, they led by as many as 24 points. Just an evisceration of the Miami Heat. It kind of left you wondering, can Miami win one, much less 2 games in this series? And I think it all stems really back to the man in the middle, Nikola Jokic. He was utterly dominant. That's the only word you could use to describe the doughy 6'10 European who was just flashing brilliance left and right against Miami. They had no answers. And, in the morning meeting with the staff, I kept saying, Jokic is just so dominant out there. You can't stop him. Denver's now 13-3 in the postseason. They look like, not like an all-time great team, but certainly the best team in the league. And it all runs around Mr. Jokic. And what makes him so special, I believe, is that he is as dominant as Shaquille O'Neal was. Not the best big man since Shaq, but as dominant as Shaq. Now, they dominate in different ways. Shaq just overpowered you back to the basket. I'm going to dunk. Everybody knows the famous dunk on Chris Dudley where he dunked on him, just shoves him to the ground. That was Shaq's dominance and overpowering anybody in the game, really. Jokic is different. He is kind of like a Jason Bourne out there, crafty. He's going to point out your weakness. He's going to hold the ball, and he's going to pass. I mean, folks, if you want to be bleak for the Miami Heat, they were trailing by 17 points at halftime, and Mr. Jokic had taken 3 shots. That's it. He doesn't have to score to kill you. He's really an evolved big man, a kind of guy who can step out and hit the 3. Hey, we're going to sag back on Jokic. Let's see if he can shoot. Yeah, he can bang 3s. We're going to double team Jokic. That's fine. He's a great passer. The vision, I think Colin has compared him to Arvydas Sabonis, one of the best passing big men ever. And Tracy McGrady was on a Showtime podcast, What's Burning? And listen to what he said about the great Nikola Jokic.
Let me tell y'all something. This dude is so good, man. Straight up. I haven't seen anything like him. Where he passes. You got a 7'1" center bringing up the ball, initiating the offense. The passes that he makes from one side of the court to the other, on time and on target. The bounce passes in between defenses. You can't guard him on the post because he's too big. He can't jump over a dollar bill. He rebounds. He is amazing.
Yeah, T-Mac, my guy. Huge fan of Tracy McGrady back in the day. And listening to him gas up Jokic, again, we're talking about a guy who can dominate. Now, offensively, he dominates. Defensively, he's not doing much. Shaq obviously was a great defender, and I know 90s basketball fans will say, oh, Shaq was a better defender. He was a better player. Are you sure about that, guys? You watch Jokic in this offense. He had 27, 14, and 10, made it look easy, and he didn't even play his A-plus game. Again, we're talking about a guy who is unguardable. At one point, the Heat said, we're going to bring Cody Zeller off the bench. We're going to try him on Jokic just to give him a different look. Jokic took him from the perimeter, drove to the lane, literally went through him for the layup and won. And Jokic is the kind of guy, he doesn't have to dunk to dominate you. I don't even know if he's had 5 dunks in the postseason, but he makes it look easy. And one of the problems, I know it's weird to say this is a problem for the league, is that, and I got a great quote from the movies, audiences love flamboyant people who broke all the rules and paid dearly for it. Obviously, like a Robert Downey Jr. comes to mind. But the first half of that quote, audiences love flamboyant people, really applies to a lot of NBA players. We've got showmen, right? I mean, Magic Johnson, one of my favorite players. Magic and Patrick Ewing were my favorite players growing up. They were extremely flamboyant. Ewing's thunderous dunks in Madison Square Garden, pointing at people, shot blocking, letting them know. Magic Johnson with the passing. Listen, I know Larry Bird was a silent assassin and was a legendary trash talker, but he was flamboyant in his own ways. Isaiah Thomas, the great point guard. These 80s and 90s players were ultra flamboyant. Obviously, we got to mention the great Michael Jordan and what he could do, the shrug against the Portland Trailblazers. Like, audiences love the flamboyant players. And if you look in the modern era right now, Kyrie Irving's not a great basketball player. We know he's a talented one, but he is extremely flamboyant with his layups, his finishing at the rim. You know, this guy, the audiences love the Kyrie Irvings of the world. Steph Curry's hitting from three with the shoulder shrug. They love that. The NBA's best player right now is Nikola Jokic, who is not flamboyant at all. And I say that's a problem for the league because how do you market this guy? Like, he's great to watch. I love him. But we know what the audience likes. You know, the casual fans. They love dunks. They love passes, the deep threes. They like the trash talk. I love that stuff. Jokic is just a killer. He is literally unstoppable. I mean, the Miami Heat said, hey, we need a great series from Bam Adebayo. Hell, we'll take a great game from Bam Adebayo, their center who has been all-NBA in his career. Bam Adebayo, when Bam Adebayo scores 20 points, the Heat had been 6-0 this postseason. They're like, we know what Jimmy Butler's going to give us. One of the other guys, one of the undrafted dudes, he's going to deliver. If we can get Bam 20 points, can't lose. Bam Adebayo had his best game of the playoffs, best career playoff game with 26 points. And I guess smashed by Denver, and it was never close. Not for a moment. Don't tell me it was close when they cut it to 9. It was never close for a moment in the second half. So you get everything you want from Bam Adebayo. He had no chance defending Jokic, and you have no chance in the game. Folks, I don't want to sound too bleak for the league. I don't want to sound too bleak for the Miami Heat fans. I know we've got some at this network. Shout out to Joy Taylor. But I'm looking at the numbers here, and Denver has won 11 of the last 13 against the Heat. Miami has not beaten Denver since the bubble. Nikola Jokic literally owns his team. By the way, here we go on FS1 with the Cody Zeller highlight. That was the 1 minute Cody Zeller got in the game. Go look at the box score. Came in for 1 minute, and Jokic just attacked him, said send that kid back to the bench. And Cody Zeller, awesome college basketball player. But I look at this number. Miami shot 33% from deep. And ordinarily, you're like, oh, well, they made 13 threes. That's not bad. Folks, a lot of garbage time baked into that. First half, when Denver raced to that 17-point lead, Miami was 4 of 17 on three-pointers. You cannot do that. And I know we talked about Caleb Martin and the emergence that he had against Boston, where he was arguably their best player with Jimmy Butler. Yeah, Caleb Martin, regression to the mean there. Caleb Martin, 1 for 7 last night. Max Strus, the immortal Max Strus, undrafted, can hit 5 threes any night of the week, 0 for 10. Duncan Robinson came in, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It was a brutal night shooting, and that's what Miami fans are going to see. Hey, Jokic got his triple-double, but we've still got our guys. They're going to make shots. Guys, I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. This is who the Miami Heat are. This is what they were in the regular season, the 27th best three-point shooting team in the league. Just because they had a 4-week out-of-body experience in the playoffs where they took down the Bucks with three-point shooting and Jimmy buckets, and then they were able to beat the Celtics with just otherworldly shooting from the perimeter. Like, that's not who they are. This is who they are. And they have no answer whatsoever for Jokic. They even tried the zone, and they had a brief 11-0 run in the fourth quarter that I think cut the 21-point lead to 10. And the announcers, if you were listening, you were like, oh, maybe they can make this interesting. They were begging for a close game. And then as soon as it gets remotely close, here's Jokic on the elbow, dish, Aaron Gordon, dunk. Here's Jokic, pick and roll with Murray, automatic. I'm just saying, like, I know we gas up Giannis Antetokounmpo as the greatest player in the league. We talk. Cowherd loves his Kevin Durant. Obviously, we have LeBron James. Anthony Davis. You guys remember when Cowherd had Anthony Davis as the #1 player in the playoffs at one point? Like, let's be realistic. If you're starting a team in the NBA right now, you look at the age, you look at how he dominates, who are you taking over Jokic? I don't know how you make the case for anyone. Listen, remember, Shaq, who is really the most comparison to Jokic because of their dominance, Shaq could not make free throws. He was like 52% for most of his career. Even Giannis against Miami, he was hot potatoing the ball around because he couldn't shoot free throws. I think he missed 17 free throws in that deciding game. Tell me the weakness of Nikola Jokic. Other than maybe he's not flamboyant enough, he's not a great interview. I mean, we're talking about a historically great center, folks, and I don't think the Miami Heat have any answers for him.